A lotus is a flower rooted in the mud that rises through and above to become a beautiful bloom. This is a podcast sharing mine and other stories of how we've done the same, choosing to rise above our circumstances to bloom. I'm your host, Amber. Let's get started. This is my friend Sabina.
Okay.
We've known each other for...
Probably close to 3 years, right?
Dude, yeah.
Has it been?
Because you were in group 2, right?
It was 2 years then.
Okay.
But
Were you
yeah.
in group 2 or group 3?
Group 2.
Okay. No, it has to be longer than that. Anyways, we've known each other for at least 2 years. Like, let's argue about specifics. I was actually thinking about it today where I remembered seeing you at some of the meetups. And I thought it was really cool because I think in the beginning there's always more people that show up, but you were always like really consistent in showing up. Yeah. So out of anything that group 2 was invited to, you were always there. And then we got to ride together. We went on a hike and I sat next to you and I was like, oh, I like her. But yeah, and we just kind of connected after that.
Yeah,
ever since.
So fun.
It's been really good. And there's been so much that's happened.
So much.
I feel like even just for me, the 2 years that I was in Gentle Warrior, it's been so jam-packed with so much stuff. Because it's like you're on this expedited growth
Totally.
train.
It feels like 10 years squished down into 2.
Yeah, exactly. And then it makes everything else like, you know how people talk about like such and such BC? It's like before Gentle Warrior, BGW. But it's like all of that stuff seems like a completely different lifetime. Even mine and Ben's relationship, it's like that feels like eons ago, and we're like, oh, that was only 4 years ago. It's weird, but
I know, it is so wild how it literally feels like we're just like in a time warp.
Yeah,
And just in like a whole other dimension of time.
for real. And we might be, actually. I wouldn't.
I mean, I believe it. So.
Yeah. Timeline jumping.
Yep.
Okay, so if you don't mind, we'll just start off by you telling a little bit about yourself, like how you grew up and some of your story. And then we kind of talked about this before, but there are some topics that we both want to touch on that I think are going to be really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So I grew up here in Utah, and I grew up LDS, and my family was actually like very LDS. And I believed in it fully. Like that was my truth. I believed in God. I believed in just everything that they talked about. That was my whole childhood growing up. Mm-hmm. And I actually had a really good childhood. There was a lot of amazing things that we did. I grew up dancing, and that was so fun. I did that for years of my life. And with all of the good things, there was still a lot underneath that was going on. And as I've gotten older and as I've been deconstructing things and deconstructing religion, I realized like a lot of it plays into that. And it's been really interesting deconstructing all of that. But I grew up in sort of an unstable environment in my house, and honestly, like, no blame to my parents, like they were doing the best that they could.
Right.
And, but at the time it's like I didn't get my emotional needs met the way that children should. And so I was a really hypersensitive kid, like,
Which makes it double time.
yeah. Like double time, yes. And so I was like super hypersensitive, super highly aware of everything going on. I was feeling really big emotions in my body and didn't know how to express them. I didn't feel safe to express them. And then from a pretty young age, I experienced sexual trauma and sexual abuse that went on for a few years. And I never felt safe to tell anybody. And it was really confusing to me, and that created a lot of feelings of unworthiness and shame and guilt. And I just kept it in, you know.
Yeah.
I never talked to anybody about it until probably a few years ago.
Wow.
And
Do you think that your family knew, like, had an idea that that was going on, or, because I've talked to some people where when they do finally come out and talk about traumas that they've had, especially when it comes to sexual traumas, there are some situations where the parents are like, we had a feeling that was going on. We wish we would have like had a confirmation.
Yeah.
And then there are some times where the family is like, it just blows their mind because
Yeah.
they had absolutely no idea.
yeah, I think that like talking to my parents now, they both have said like we kind of had an idea, like we thought maybe something was going on, but we didn't know.
There's no way to confirm it.
And yeah, and so I sat with that a lot and felt really angry, honestly, at my parents for a long time. I don't feel those ways anymore, but
Yeah.
there was like a part of me was like, well, if you knew that about your kid, like how could you not like say anything or ask, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something I've worked through. But in the end, like I was just so quiet too that I didn't talk about anything.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and my emotions just turned to anger. And then I just became an angry kid.
Sorry, I keep interjecting. Did you know that you were angry at the time? That was the emotion you were feeling? Or did you just know, like, I have this big emotion and you didn't really have a word for it?
I think that I was feeling so much, like I was feeling so much sadness, so much guilt, so much shame. And the only way that it would come out was through anger.
Gotcha.
Like, because I didn't know how to be like, I'm sad, you know, and just cry. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't feel safe in my body to do that.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of it was that my soul ejected from my body during that time. And it was a way for me to be safe is to just not feel my emotions, even though I was really feeling them, but I wasn't fully processing them through my body, and they just kind of got stuck. And then if it was trying to come out, it would just come out as anger.
Yeah. It's been interesting to learn like how anger can be, it's always a cover emotion for other things that are going. I mean, like, not always. Sometimes you really are legitimately angry.
Yeah.
But
something I've learned about anger is it's a secondary emotion. Yeah.
yeah. And the reason I ask that is because there's been a lot of things for me that as I'm processing and I'm working through stuff and healing things, at the time, I didn't have the thought process of I'm angry because of this, or I can't show this emotion and so I feel this. Like I wasn't aware of the domino effect or like why I was doing things that I was doing. And then in hindsight, when you look back and you realize like, oh, that's what I was doing. That's why I was acting this way. And
Totally.
I always find it interesting when people do have that awareness in the moment, especially as kids, where I feel like kids have big emotions anyways, but where you were super hypersensitive. I was just curious about that. But sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. So that was just like underneath everything else that was going on that was really good in my life, you know, like going dancing and stuff. Like I was holding so much emotions in my body and had no way to like process them. And so growing up, like that was just kind of like always this underlying thing. And then it turned into addiction. And I, from a young age, was addicted to pornography. And again, in the church, that's something that's highly shamed.
Yeah.
Especially being a girl.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I don't want to say that it's uncommon. I'm sure it's really common. It's just not talked about
No,
as often.
it's not talked about it a lot.
Even
Pretty much
outside
at
of the
all.
church, I don't feel like. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's something that, again, was like building up this deep shame and guilt in my body. And then, yeah, with the church of like it being talked about as this horrible thing, you know, I'm like, I'm this horrible human. I'm so unworthy. I'm so unworthy of love. I'm so unworthy of just like everything, you know, and just my self-esteem was at a zero. Like, and all I wanted, I mean, all anybody wants is love and to be loved. And I just, you know, like I'm seeking these things and just not understanding as a young mind, like how to get that,
Yeah.
And then my parents got divorced in high school, and that went on for a few years. And that was really hard time. It was a hard time for our entire family.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I think during that time, again, started seeking outside of myself for things, seeking outside of myself for validation, for love. I started getting into drugs and doing things with boys and like all these things. And it was just a way to numb myself, and honestly, I think it was actually not even a way to numb myself. I think I was feeling so numb inside that I wanted to feel something. And so like the drugs would give me some sense of feeling, like going out and having these relationships with boys would give me a sense of feeling, a sense of love. And, it's just this really hurt, broken young girl and just seeking love and validation.
Well, and I think one thing that I've learned too is when we carry shame for something, shame and guilt, and just feeling like this makes me a bad person. Something that I have been working on is, if somebody really knew the real me, would they love me? The people who say they love me, and you convince yourself that if they knew the real me, there's no way. If they knew all these things, there's no way they could love me.
Yeah. So you just keep trying to hide more and more and put up this face of like, this is actually me.
Yeah. And it's this weird cycle of like, as much as you want somebody to know all of you and love you, every part of you, you're so convinced that there's no way that they could. So you're putting up this front for them to love.
Yep.
And then you keep seeking, it's like this validation of like, if they love this version of me, this part that I've put up, it will make this part of me that I'm ashamed of not important anymore and just fade away.
Yeah. And I think a big part of that too is like, at least for me, I hated those parts of myself. And so if I hated them, how could anybody else love them?
Right. Ooh. Yeah, exactly. That's so wild. So you touched on how you were, I don't remember how you said it, but like this, you weren't in your body basically from a young age.
Yeah.
Which I can definitely relate to. And I feel like as an adult, I'm finding ways and it sounds kind of weird. Like if somebody said this to me 5 years ago, I would be like, what are you talking about? Like it wouldn't even make sense to me. And now that I understand it and then am becoming aware, because there's like an understanding and then there's a fully becoming aware of it. So there's levels to it. So now I'm in this mode lately where I'm trying to truly listen to my body of what does my body need? What does my body want? And taking the time to listen to it and not just being like, well, I feel like this is the right decision. Just being super present in my body of what it needs, whether it's emotionally, whether it's like physical activity, nutrition, music, sleep, like anything. And now that I have that awareness of trying to listen to my body, I'm realizing this huge disconnect that I've had, how big that disconnect was. And it's been this like learning how to trust again, this communication between my mind and my body and being present. And so I would love to hear like what your experience has been in realizing that and healing that and trying to stay in that presence.
Yeah. So this has been honestly something that's been huge for me and super present, especially in the last year, of realizing how ejected I was from my body. It, like looking back on it, just looking over my whole life, the best way to explain it is it feels like my soul has always just been like floating above my body.
Yeah.
And that was the only way for me to stay safe. And so because of that, it was like everything was cut off from my neck. My body didn't exist. It was like all mental, all up here. And so the only way I'd process things was through my mind. And as I become aware of that and like how disconnected I am from my body, it's been a huge practice for me to sit in my body. And when I first made this realization, I was like, I know what I need to do. I just need to go take mushrooms or do something and just like lay there and be like, okay, so I'm ready to go back in my body. Hard landing, come on, crash back in. I had this whole visual of like, this is how it's going to happen. And let me tell you, it's not how it happened. And what I've been realizing is it's a slow integration. You know, I've been out of my body for so many years that it's actually would be extremely unsafe to come back into my body that fast, because there's so much that lives in my body, so much that's unprocessed, that if I would just completely come back in and fully land, my nervous system wouldn't be able to hold that.
Your soul would just be like, I can't.
Yeah.
Pop back
and
out.
So something I've been really, really working on the last few years, or specifically last year, is being able to sit with myself and just sit and be present and witness myself in anything that comes up. And it's getting a lot easier, in the sense it's getting easier to trust myself and trust my body. And my body is actually trusting me. But with that are a lot of bigger and deeper emotions are coming up, like the depth, the grief of it all, which is hard. But I built so much nervous system capacity to be able to hold that.
Yeah.
And so it's something that I am proud of myself for, of sitting with myself, because it's hard, it's uncomfortable. The sensations that come up in your body when you do that are extremely uncomfortable. You know, it feels like all these like fires going off and warning signs, like eject, you know.
You're like,
and I have to be like, no, it's safe in my body. Like I have created so much safety. I've done so much work to create this safety in my body, to stay in my body.
Well, you're rewiring like neural pathways, because for a really long time, your body thought that it was keeping you safe in these situations by not allowing you to feel certain emotions, or telling you this is when we need to numb, or this is when we need to act this way, or if we feel this energy, that at one point wasn't safe, and so this is how we're going to shut down. And now, where it's been years and years and years, I feel like it's like you've sealed off completely, what's the word, like welded off this door while there's a ton of action going on behind it, because it's unpredictable, it's betrayed you, you're not sure how to react to it at a young age when you haven't built any type of coping skills, and all those things are just fueling, and now you're slowly opening that door again to something that's unknown. And it's like, okay, those things have been sitting in there unacknowledged
for years. Yeah.
And so, like you said, if you were to just like open the doors and let it all in, it would be chaos, because they've been starving for attention for so long. And so it's almost like you have to set up this interview process of like, okay,
Totally.
Guilt from when I was 14, it's your turn.
Yeah.
You know, let's deal with this, and this is going to take some time. But
yeah, something that's also been super big for me with this whole thing is, for a long time, I was like, okay, I have so much trauma that I need to look at. And so I just kept going into the trauma and clearing this energy out. And this is something actually that just came full circle for me pretty recently, this big awareness that I have, just been going to the depth, going to my shadows, going into all of these. And while that's been so good and it's clearing out a lot of this chaos, it's left me empty. It's like pulling all this energy out, and then it's just like left in this like, abyss of emptiness.
Yeah.
And so the thing about living in life and reclaiming your life is refilling that hole with joy. And you know, it's like instead of just like digging and digging and digging and digging and digging, it's like we can just dig a little, and then that little hole, we can refill it with joy and refill it with like playfulness, like tap back into that inner child, like give that inner child the playfulness, the love that like that she didn't get. And then it's like when you have that joy, then you're able to go in a little deeper and then fill it with more joy and then a little deeper, you know, and it's like this game going back and forth rather than just like diving so deep and like not having anything to fill it back up with. And that just in the last little bit that I've like really understood that and processed it, how much that has been shifting my life like so fast that I'm kind of like, whoa, like this is kind of wild. Like I can experience this much joy and I deserve it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's a big part too, is recognizing that you deserve it.
Yeah.
What has been, so like if you have moments where you feel the alarms going off to eject, what has been, I guess if you want to call it like your grounding or reminder, like what are some practices that you've been doing that remind you to stay in there?
I think a big one is first the awareness of realizing what my body's trying to do. And really, I mean, there's been so much work up to it to create safety in my life. You know, like I've gotten into really good, healthy relationships. I've cleared out a lot of like negative energies in my life. So there's a lot of back work to create this safety. A lot of ownership in my own things, a lot of, you know, taking accountability of things and putting up boundaries. So there's been so much back work that has led to this. But now I'm in a position where I'm like, I am fully safe in my body and I've created this safety. And so now when those warning bells come off of like the sensations coming up that it's like, ooh, this is like, feels like unsafe, you know, I can now affirm myself that I am safe and I know I'm safe because of everything else that I've done. And then some rituals that I do is, unless I have so many, but, you know, just like being able to, you know, like, let's say I'm in like a super chaotic environment. Like, let's say, and it's not even necessarily it has to be chaotic in a negative way, but like if I'm at this happened actually pretty recently. I was at a concert and just because of how hypersensitive and hyper aware of energies that I am, it was like feeling super chaotic and my body was like, this feels unsafe, even though like I knew I was safe. And so I was like trying to like use my tools like in the moment to like breathe and calm myself, and it just like wasn't working. And so I decided to just like walk outside and like sit with myself for a minute. And it took a little while to like calm myself, but like taking myself out of the chaos and being able to like go on some quiet and solitude for a minute, and then reconnect with my breath. Like my breath has been huge. Learning different breath techniques and different ways and like how the breath affects the nervous system and all these different things has been honestly probably my number one tool. And using my breath to create space in my body for these sensations to be able to like breathe and be seen rather than just like constricted in my body.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I think what's so important is that it's one of the biggest things is acknowledging. I think we have a tendency, and I am so guilty of this, of like, I don't have time for this. This isn't the right place to feel this. I'm just going to push it down. It's basically telling your body what you're feeling and what you're trying to tell me isn't important.
You're
and
gaslighting
it's wrong.
yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. 100%. And your body's like, I'm just trying to keep you safe here. And it just builds that disconnect even more. And so like even just the acknowledging it and allowing it to have space is huge.
Totally.
And in building that trust.
Yeah. The biggest thing too that I've been learning is like our body feels things in the present moment, you know? So it's like, if you're feeling a sensation and you're like, I'll get back to you later, it's like, yeah, it is gaslighting yourself, you know? And 100%. So I've been learning different ways, like, even if it's not the most convenient, you know, it's like when you're at a concert, it's not the most convenient to have a full-on panic attack, you know? But it's like, okay, like, I actually have to address this in the moment so it doesn't become this, like, push down emotion. And then I was able to, like, help just, like, re-regulate myself and work through it. So then I could just go and enjoy and be in the present.
That's so
And
cool.
so that's, like, obviously a time when I was heightened and, like, really activated. And then there's a lot of other times where I've been learning to create the space, you know? I am doing these daily rituals, at least 10, 15 minutes a day, to sit with myself. And I've been doing it for probably 5 months now. And at the beginning, it was so hard to just, like, sit with yourself. Like, that sounds so dumb.
You're like, what am I supposed to do?
I'm, like, sitting there. I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do? My mind is just, like, going a million different, like, miles an hour, like, like, so many different thoughts, like, just so chaotic in my mind. And I, like, couldn't just sit still, you know? And so then I was like, okay, how do I come back? It's 10 minutes, you know, like, come on, Sabina, 10 minutes with yourself. How is it that hard?
Yeah.
And, you know, I just started practicing sitting with myself and breathing. And as I was doing that, like, so many emotions came out, and those, like, feelings of wanting to eject. And then again, just affirming myself of, like, I'm safe. And kind of, like, realizing, like, understanding those sensations and, like, feeling where they're at, and really just trying to ask, like, what are you trying to tell me? And instead of, again, shaming them and judging them and being like, I don't want you, like, get out, like, you just shouldn't be here, you know? Instead, like, they live in my body, acknowledge what they are and what they're trying to tell me. And the more and more that I've been doing this, like, how much these sensations are telling me deep parts of my story, like, parts of my story that I, like, didn't remember, or, you know, just parts of me that have made it, what's the words I'm trying to say? Like, I've just been able to find so much more compassion for myself through sitting with these emotions, because I was like, holy crap, like, I have been experiencing these my whole life, and, like, my body has been protecting me so much by holding these emotions for me, and now my body's, like, asking me to release them, and I'm in a place and I'm safe enough to release these, and I do have to be uncomfortable again to get them out. But it's like, once they come out, how much happier and, like, how much more room for joy that I have.
I feel like, too, with that, I've had the perspective at one point where it was, like, upset with myself and, I don't know, just being really frustrated of all of these things that I went through, and this sucks, this is terrible, how could this happen to me? And then once you have the tools and you're building that safe space to actually feel those emotions, then you get to come at it from the gratitude side of things, of, like, and having that compassion and understanding of, like, wow, how cool is it that while I was going through this, my body knew to keep me safe, knew to hold it this certain way. And I think that that's also helped me. You mentioned, like, understanding, like, your parents were just doing the best that they could. And I think there have been layers and phases for me in how I feel towards my parents of, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Oh, wait, it was kind of a big deal. How could you do this to your child? And especially since becoming a parent, of, like, how could you put your child in that situation? What a shitty job. And then, like, oh, but they were doing the best that they, and it's just been, like, this back and forth, but it's been from different angles of just being, like, really having no feelings towards it, having big feelings towards it, having anger, and then being like, you know what? It wasn't, you could have done better. There were other options. But considering what you went through, the tools you had, who your parents were, what your environment was, I turned out pretty okay. Like you actually did a pretty decent job. And it gives me it gives me so much grace for them and then grace for myself, because my kids are going to grow up and they're probably going to go through the same thing of like, how could you do that to me? And I'm going to be, I don't know.
I was trying the best I could.
I know. And it just makes you realize like there are so many moments. I have to tell myself this all the time of like, I am just a human. Yeah. And I don't always react the way that I want to, whether it's towards my kids or my husband or with my friends or even towards myself. I don't always react like the ideal way that I wish that I could. But the most important part of it is that I'm coming back to that and debriefing with myself of like, why did I react that way? What led up to that? I'm just a human. And as much as I can have all these plans and these goals and blogs and Instagram posts and podcasts about how to be a good person and how to deal with all this stuff, like as long as I'm coming back and acknowledging it and realizing how human I am and finding the beauty in that, that's where the growth is.
Totally.
And having that grace for my parents as well of like, they're just human.
Yeah. And I also think a really cool piece to it too is just like everything that we've been learning is also just like being able to take that ownership, you know, because like, you're going to mess up. You're going to do things. You're going to react in ways that are not ideal, you know, but being able to come back time and time again and like be like do better and take ownership like is huge.
Yeah. And I actually, one of my first episodes was talking to my friend Catherine about ownership and what that really meant. And I think that the first time that I heard that there was a phrase, like somebody saying taking ownership, I'm like, excuse me, that's not my fault. Why would I take ownership of that? But really it's just like, okay, but what role did I play in this?
Exactly.
Why did I react the way that I reacted? Because like even just in a conversation with somebody, I played a role in that conversation and I reacted the way that I did, whether that was kindly or with anger or whatever. I reacted that way for a reason. And I can say like, this is the reason I acted this way. Yeah. That's taking ownership. It doesn't mean taking ownership of another person's actions.
Exactly.
At all.
It's not that at all. It's taking ownership of yourself and the way that you show up.
And that's that's a way of reclaiming your power, which like I talked about it in I think every episode it comes up of reclaiming your power. And to acknowledge and take ownership of a role that you play in a situation is a huge way to take back your power.
I believe that's one of the most important things to get out of that victim mentality.
Yeah. And then we kind of touched on it too of like, so you have a son and he's so beautiful.
He's so cute.
He's so cute. How old is he now?
He's almost 8 months.
Wow.
I know.
Dude, in my mind, he's like 2 months. I always forget how quickly other people's kids age. I'm like, oh, your kids are also aging while my kids are aging. Yeah. But it goes by so quickly. For me, I know that was a huge shift. I think that I had, especially like looking at my parents and the way that they did things, I had an opinion about it. And then I became a mom and it just like really, it put a magnifying glass on it and put things in perspective. And I think that's where my hugest shift has been as a human, is becoming a parent and realizing like what role I play in somebody else's life. How has that been for you? And also for me, it was different having a boy versus having a girl. And I know that it's different for everybody too, but I think having a boy first like laid the groundwork for having a girl. Yeah. But tell me what that has been like for you as far as shifting things. It's honestly been a huge shift. Like I already really wanted to do this work to change for myself. Just because I was at a breaking point of if
I was going to continue living the way that I was and the way that I felt. I was like, I didn't want to live anymore. And so that was a huge shift for myself. And so I put a ton of work into myself for that. And then when I got pregnant, it just like amplified, you know. It got to a point where I was like, everything that I did, I was kind of like almost over analyzing in a way that I was like, okay, Sabina, this is like, you're going too extreme.
This is excessive.
But it was really good. So my whole pregnancy, I was really trying to shift things, so that would shift the way that I showed up for my partner and shift the way that I was showing up for myself. And then when he was born, like, it shifted everything. Like, the idea of presence, like, I didn't understand presence fully until I had him, and like how important that was.
Yeah.
And just like all these things that I was learning, I was like, okay, like, holy shit, like, I really gotta like put these in to action. Because I would just watch the way that he would watch me and just soak everything in. And honestly, that when he was born, it was a huge, huge shift for me in understanding and regulating my own nervous system, because I was realizing like how my nervous system affected his. If I was feeling anxious, like, it was like he would react in a different way. And so it pushed me even more to like really sit with myself and really, really regulate. And if I was not regulated, okay, how can I take myself out of the situation and regulate myself to be able to come back and show up for him? And, you know, even now over the last few months of also realizing how important it is for me to keep taking care of myself and not lose myself in being a mom. Like, while that role is so important to me, it's like one of the most important roles in my life, it's not 100% who I am.
Yes.
And like, I'm so grateful that it's something I'm prioritizing and continually working on myself, continually doing things for myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I went on a trip to the south of France, and I had so many people being like, how can you leave your baby? He was like 6 months at the time.
Yeah.
And I knew for myself, like, I had to go on that trip.
Yeah.
Like, it was essential for my growth. And I'm so grateful that I did. Like, there were so many life lessons there that like will forever change my life. And I just hope that one day I can look back and be like, show him as an example of like, I was taking care of myself and doing the best so that I could show up the best for you.
Yes. I think that's one thing. Ben and I had conversations early on what's interesting is it's wild how many times he and I are on the same page without even having a conversation, where I'll start thinking about something and then he'll come to me and say, hey, I've been thinking about this, and it's the same thing that I've already been thinking about. And that's exactly how this was. Is I think Becca was 8 months old, and I realized I had just become a stay-at-home mom, which I had never really planned on. But then when I was in the moment, it was like, this is what I want. It wasn't like I fell into it. It was like, okay, wait, actually, I decided I do want to be a stay-at-home mom. I don't. And of course, like, COVID happened. And so was home all the time with this child and could feel myself getting lost in that. And it's hard because you enjoy it so much that it's a voluntary thing, but you can also feel yourself losing yourself. Yes. It is the weirdest feeling. And so he and I had this whole conversation. He's like, I don't want it to be, 18, 20 years down the road, our kids are leaving the house, they're graduating, they're moving, whatever, and you don't know who you are and you don't know what you want to do with your life. And it's like you're starting over at 50-something years old trying to figure out who the hell you are. Yeah. And so it was really wild that I was having this whole thought process of like, I feel like I'm losing myself. And he comes to me and he's like, you need to start doing more stuff for yourself. And I've had the same conversation of like, anytime we go to a retreat, which the retreats that we go to are anywhere from 2 to 4 days long. And I I would have people be like, oh, how can you leave your kids? Or are you having a hard time? And sometimes I would have a hard time. But overall, I always knew that it was like, no, I am doing this by doing something for myself. I'm doing something for my kids.
Yeah.
Because I need my kids to not have a burnt out version of me that has no idea who I am, hasn't learned these tools, how to deal with my emotions, is running on fumes. Like, that's a version that I don't want my kids to have.
Yeah.
Whereas like going to these retreats and doing these things for myself and expanding, I think it would be one thing if I was like, let's go to Vegas and let's get wasted. And, you know, like I'm just like tearing myself down and it's not very constructive. Not to, there's a time and a place for those, but there's nothing wrong with those. But if that's all that I was doing, that would be a different story. But where I'm going to actually heal all of this past trauma, to heal these past versions of myself, to nourish that inner child or that 22-year-old or that 26-year-old that needed something, like that's me becoming a better person and showing my kids through actions how to do that for themselves and how important that really is.
Yeah.
Of before they ever become, because like think about it, if we saw our parents doing those things, us doing them now would be a completely different story. Like our kids are going to grow up to be so emotionally intelligent. And already, like there are times where Beckett will come and he understands the word overstimulated and he's 5 years old.
I love that so much.
so like he'll go to his room because he just needs a few moments alone. And I'll go, like he'll get really flustered or really upset. And his first thing is he just goes to his room. I'd never have to send him to his room. He goes to his room and I wouldn't anyways. And I'll go in there and be like, dude, are you okay? And he's like, I just want to be alone for a minute. Okay.
Like, okay.
I'll come check on you or you come out when you need to. Okay. And, or like if my husband, if Ben or I are feeling overstimulated and we tell him that, he knows to take it down a notch.
Yeah. I love that so much.
I just think it's so cool.
Yeah. You're just like co-creating this safety in your house and like you're teaching him how to regulate and like he's also respecting like when you need to regulate. And that's so cool from such a young age.
Yeah. Well, and I think as kids, this is true for any kid. Like we think that our parents are these gods of like, they know everything. They can do everything. They're teaching me the ways of the world. Like if they do it, this is the way to do it. And, so I think it's just really cool that we can actually teach our kids how to, if we're going to teach them anything, like let's teach them how to be emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
And by emotionally intelligent, I mean, learn how to feel your feelings and let them see you be human. Like I think it's letting him see us in those moments lets him know that while we may be your God right now, we are also humans that have wild emotions.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
like
that's
more
something
realistic.
that me and my partner Royce, it's been like a big thing for us is like when, and like there's obviously a time and place to like have certain conversations or different things like in private versus not, but being able to show up like in our family dynamic in a way that this is like, here's conflict, you know, we're not going to agree on everything.
Right.
But like this is like how we work through it and how we give each other space, how we respect each other, and also use our voices when we're not in agreement with each other. And when either of us are out of alignment, we can call each other out in like a healthy way. And just like creating this family dynamic that is really healthy for Shiloh to see as he grows up, you know?
Yeah.
And there's plenty of times that I get angry. Like there's still that anger still lives in me.
Yeah.
And, you know, but I'm learning how to safely release that. You know, it's like there's so many times that I just go in my room and scream into my pillows and like punch the shit out of them. And it's like Shiloh hasn't seen that yet, but like he's only 8 months old, you know. But over time, it's like I'm going to show him that because there's going to be a time that he feels angry. Yeah, and it's okay to be angry. You know, it's okay to have that, but it's teaching in a way to. And it's more about like for me, it's like I'm learning how to not get angry and project that onto others. Yes, like my anger is mine. And someone else can make that anger come up in me, but it's my responsibility to like take that out of my body in a very healthy way.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And it's our responsibility to understand what's making that happen.
Yeah.
I think that that's another thing too, is that as a humanity, people just tend to acknowledge a feeling and not truly understand why.
Yeah.
Like there have been times where Ben and I had a conversation about, I went on this 5-week no caffeine thing. And when it was over, I was drinking a cup of coffee and he's like, why are you drinking coffee? And I just was this little smart ass. And I was like, because I like it. Like some little 15-year-old, because I like it. And it turned into like a little bit of an argument. And then later I thought about it and I was like, why was that such a big deal for me? Like, why did I could feel the wall go up. And it was like, why? It was a simple, and even he said, he was like, it was just a simple question. And then I tried to be like, I know, I didn't have an attitude. I totally had an attitude, but I could have just left it as it was, but it was really cool to go back and analyze it and be like, why did that make me so upset? Yeah. And then we've had another conversation since then that was like on a completely different topic, but I felt the same exact emotions going up. It's like, okay, why am I feeling this way about these simple questions that he's asking? Ooh, because I already have judgment about myself, or I already have set expectations of how I'm going to handle this drinking caffeine, or, and so I've set like this should for myself. And the fact that he's inquiring about it is just amplifying my own emotions that I already have, So it's just really cool to go back and be like, why do I feel this? Because that's where the healing is. Yeah. It's been so crazy. Tell me, this is all over the place. Tell me about France though, because you did bring that up and how much healing there's been in that for you.
Yeah. France has been a huge shift for me. I went back in March, so a few months ago, and the group that I went with prior to it, we've been learning a lot about Mary Magdalene, and during this whole process, I've been deconstructing a lot of religion, which is interesting because I stopped going to church around 15-ish, and at the time, just completely cut out God in my life, Yeah. And didn't really believe in God, didn't really know what I believed in. But over the years, like, I've found that there is still this deep sense of belief of God and or some higher power. Or anyway, so joining this group, I've been deconstructing a lot of that and kind of taking away what religion taught about God versus what I know about God through my own self and through my own knowing. Anyway, so yeah, this whole trip to the south of France was going and being on the land where Mary Magdalene was said to be after the crucifixion. And so we traveled around and went to different caves that she went to. We went to different cathedrals, different churches that were dedicated to her, and sat on the land that she sat. And it was so amazing to feel the energy of the land and sit in complete presence and be in this like presence practice in these rituals, like on the land, and just feeling her, feeling God, and having these incredible, like, visceral experiences in my body that like are absolutely undeniable to like not believe in God for myself.
Yeah.
And realizing like how God has been a part of my life every step of the way, but in a way that was different than I was taught.
Yeah.
And whether you want to call him God, whether you want to call it universe, higher power, source, whatever it is, whatever fits for you, I truly believe in my core that there is a God, and God is within inside of every single one of us. God is inside of every living thing. Everything we see is everything is God, you know?
Yeah.
And, just having these experiences and being there, I experienced joy and presence in a way that I have never felt. And that entire trip, I was in complete alignment with self and just complete flow. And it was so, like, just the way that I was able to interact with others, just because I was in my truest self, truest alignment, was life-changing. And then coming back and integrating that, it's been, at first it was, I came back and I was like, whoa, real life is really hard. Like, this is really hard. Like, all my patterns are coming back up. Like, I'm not changed forever. Like, I got to integrate this.
I need to go back to France.
But that was the cool thing, is it was like, I felt all these things. I experienced it in my body fully. So now integrating it has been really cool, because now I can have an anchor point to come back on. Like, I want to feel this way. This is how I want to live my life. And so I've been able to continually use France as this anchor point of how I felt and how I want to show up for myself, how I want to show up for others. And the way that it's been integrating in my life, the way it's been showing up in a way for me to be a partner and a mother and a friend is just absolutely life-changing.
I love that. I love how, and it just kind of reiterates what we were talking about of this doing something for yourself ripples into every part of your life, every role that you play and every connection that you have, and how you can show up for in all those situations.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Okay, hang on. I'll have them edit out this part because I had a mild brain fart. Okay. So, I was like zoning. Okay, so one question that I like to ask everybody is, with everything that you've been through, all the lessons that you've learned, and how you've been able to really heal so much, or at least learn the beginnings of how to heal those things, what's something that you would like to share with somebody else who's going through something similar?
I actually do believe that it's more than just learning. Like, I really do believe I'm healing myself on an energetic level, on a physical level. Like, I do believe I'm healing myself by doing this work. And the reason for that is because I'm going into my body. And, like, the body is the key to everything. And being present in your body and feeling your emotions is the way to heal yourself, And just being able to sit and witness myself in those feelings and emotions. And as hard as it's been, it is the thing that I believe will heal me from everything, and be able to change the way that I live and perceive life and show up in life for myself and others. Just like learning how to be present with yourself and just, honestly witness yourself, love yourself unconditionally, love all parts of yourself. And it's hard. It's like, people say that, and for the longest time I was like, I get that you're saying that, but what does it mean, And it's not easy. It's not an easy path. And I understand why people don't want to do it and why they start and they're like, they don't do it, because it's hard. It's been one of the hardest things that I've done, and also the most rewarding.
Yeah. I think that's so beautifully said, because I think that a lot of people can say, there are a lot of messages out there of like, love yourself, you're enough. And while those are very beautiful and very helpful things for people, you also have to understand that to truly love yourself, to truly understand that you are enough, because you can say, I'm enough, I'm enough, I'm enough. But to like feel that to your core, to truly love yourself to your core, there's so much more to that than just saying I love myself. Yeah. It's, okay, can I have compassion for, can I love every emotion that I'm going to feel? Can I allow those emotions to have that space and still love myself through that? And acknowledging that that is hard. It's not light and love all the time. You know, there are the shadows and the darkness, and working your way through that is going to be hard. Yeah. But I love that you also added, it's so worth it in the end to do that hard and do that work, and what the reward is at the end, I guess you could say. Yeah. Yeah. So beautiful. Thank you so much, Sabina.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You were here. I'm glad that we got to do this and
me too.
Chat again. And I think that the timing has been really, really perfect as far as like your trip. And I feel like every time, it's funny because we make plans all the time to hang out and then it doesn't work out. But then it feels like so many, since I've met you, like you really got to like
You've seen me through it all. Like
I know. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is it's like to see. I feel like I've gotten to witness your growth in so many levels, and it's been really, really beautiful to watch, and I've loved it all.
Thanks. I love you.
I love you. Hey, thanks for listening to this episode. If you liked what you heard, please remember to subscribe and go leave a review on Apple Podcast. It helps me know what you want to hear and who I should have as a guest next. Thanks again, and until next time, keep living the life of a lotus.